Morning, everybody. Hello. Good morning. Today is a brand new book day, so we get to start fresh. Very exciting. Ooh. Good morning. Ow. That hurt. Okay. Let's make our coffee. Some for me, some for Secret Husband. Oops, this is getting full. Oh dear. Okay. How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone's so quiet. Coffee. Good morning. I missed this week. Glad to be back. Yeah, well, it's a perfect day to be back because it's new book day. We're starting a new book today, so you won't have missed anything because it's a brand new book. We're starting the Matzah ball today, which is exciting, right? Getting a little Hanukkah action in. Very good, very good. Fun for the whole family, if I do say so myself. Yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure. For sure. It sounds like it's a cute book. I don't know. It sounds fun. I'm into it. I'm into it. Oh my goodness. Whoa. Did I do that? No. Oh, Abby did that. I was like, how did I do that? Did I forget to turn this on? Apparently I did. Good morning. Yes, we are excited for representation. That's right. We try to do everything pretty balanced here, I'd say. I don't know. I think we're a pretty balanced group as far as representation goes. Got a little bit of everything here. Our book club is pretty diverse. Yeah. We've got people from all over, all different walks of life. Pretty good. How are you doing? Feeling still doing the exercise? Yeah, I'm still trying to get her to flip. Our next doctor's appointment isn't until next Friday, the 20th, so that's when we'll find out if she's flipped. We won't really know until then, when they check. But I keep trying, you know. I'm tired, but it's just because I worked so much, you know. And I have to pack the rest of those orders today. But that's okay. It needs to get done. That's the job, right? We all have jobs to do. And mine is a good one, so no complaints here. You have 3 slimes to open today. That's very exciting on you. Ooh, what a day. What a day. I am due February 12th But as we all know, babies make their own timeline, of course. So what does that really mean? You know what I mean? It's like, but that is the estimated due dates. Do you have, what is today's date? Is today the 13th? I don't know. Your boy's birthday was February 10th. Oh my gosh. See, yeah, you just don't know, right, Doodle? You just don't know. But we'll find out. She'll. I don't know, Liz. I don't know, but I could make more. I think if I remember what today is, I could probably make it. I think I have the supplies. Babies make their own timeline. That is the truth. You give them a due date and they're like, okay, sure. Happy new book day to you as well. Yes, today we are starting a brand new book. It's called The Matzah Ball. Could be a Mardi Gras baby. Who knows, right? I mean, we just don't know. She could be an end of January baby. In my due date group, like, everyone's delivering early as long as they stay until they're. That's what I've been saying, Sloth. I keep telling her every day. I say, kiddo, as long as you can stay until the last week of January, I don't care what you do. She could stay in until the last week of January, and then she can have any birthday she wants. Because so many people in my due date group are already delivering. It's just too early. I don't want her to come before the last week of January. That is my cutoff, last week of January, because then we'll be like early term, not early term, we'll be like full term, or not preterm, but early term, I guess is what they call it. I don't know. Something like that. Something like that. 38 weeks is cooked. I'm ready. Anything before that's early labor. So yeah. So I would like to wait. All us February babies are. Yeah, that's exactly right. We have so many people in our group who are February babies, including my husband and his mother and our nephew. So they all want it to be February. That being said, I'm fine with late January as long as she's good to go. I just don't want her to be in the NICU. So as long as she's healthy enough to not go in the NICU, she can come whenever she wants. I don't care. That's kind of my rule. No NICU. Everything else is okay. Of course, obviously, yeah, I just want a ready baby. That's exactly what I was going to say. So I was going to say, I know that the NICU is amazing. I know that at this stage she's old enough. Like at our last scan, our doctor was like, I mean, okay, our maternal fetal medicine doctor is a little bit, she's, what's the word for it? She's really good at her job, but she's not great. Her bedside manner isn't all there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So whereas like a regular doctor might be like, okay, well, she's very healthy or whatever like that. This doctor's like, if she was born now, she could survive. I was like, great, thank you. I'm glad to hear it. Very blunt. She's blunt, that's the word. She was like, she'd have a very good chance of having a very good life if she was born now. I was like, can we not tell her that? Don't let her know. Don't let her hear you. She can't be born now. Too early. Also too small. 36 and 2, and he had no NICU, but that's a YMMV thing. Wait, what's YMMV? Straightforward. Yeah. I know, right, Amanda? I am very pregnant, yes. Oh, is that true, right? Interesting. Huh. I didn't know that. Yes, it's good to know that she would survive, but please stay put. I completely agree. I completely agree with that sentiment. Yes. So, you know, like I said, your mileage may vary. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. Like I said, yay, Shira's back. Welcome back. I remember when I was, whoa, really, Martin? That's crazy. I mean, that does happen. It does happen. All right. These are all reviews for the book. We can page through that. Yes, yes, yes. We are starting a brand new book today. It's called The Matzah Ball. I spelled it wrong in the caption, and I apologize about that, but it's spelled like this, the Matzah Ball, not the matzo ball. I don't know why I did that. If you want to know something about the author, I'll tell you all. Jean Meltzer studied dramatic writing at NYU Tisch and has earned numerous awards for her work in television, including a Daytime Emmy Award. Hey, Bella. She spent 5 years in rabbinical school before her chronic illness forced her to withdraw, and her father told her she should write a book, just not a Jewish one because no one reads those. But The Matzah Ball is her first novel. That's very cute. I like that her dad was like, don't do that. And she was like, I'm going to do it anyway. So she did. And that's what we're reading. We're reading The Matzah Ball. It looks like, okay, I'm just going through here. There's, you know, a whole lot going on. But just so you guys know, there are email interludes in it. So that is what I'll like read out when it's an email and all that stuff as well, which is exciting. This is called First Email, and then obviously we'll get into the first chapter after that. From Lisa Brown to Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt, Thursday, December 9th. Oh, we just missed it. Meeting tomorrow at Romance House is the subject. Hey Rachel, just a quick heads up that tomorrow's meeting at Romance House will be an all hands on deck. Editorial, marketing, and publishing, the whole team. Apparently Chandra has something big in the works and she wants you to be a part of it. And then in parentheses there's a whole bunch of dollar signs. Oops, you guys can't see it, sorry. Just like enough to go from one page to the other. And then it says, make sure you bring your best ideas and plenty of your Christmas spirit. See you in the lobby at 10. Lisa. P.S. Happy Hanukkah. I think that starts on Monday, right? Okay. So this is obviously not this year. If it's December 9th, then Hanukkah starts on Monday, because as we all know, this year, Hanukkah is late. They decided December 25th this year. So let's read chapter 1. She just needed one more. Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt stared at the collection of miniature Christmas figurines spread across her desk. She owned 236 of the smiling porcelain Santas from the world-famous Holiday Dreams collection. When her best friend Mickey arrived, she would complete that collection with the addition of the coveted Margaritaville Santa. Oh, the Margaritaville Santa. How she dreamed of the day when that tiny porcelain Santa in a Hawaiian shirt wearing Ray-Ban sunglasses would sit atop her prized collection. Rachel had scoured eBay for the tiny limited edition figurine, set up price alerts, left frantic, somewhat drunken, posts at 3 a.m. on collectors' blogs, and now, after 6 years, 5 months, and 7 days of hunting, the Margaritaville Santa would finally be hers. The anxiety was killing her. Rachel glanced out the window of her apartment. It was snowing outside. Gentle flakes fell down onto Broadway and made New York City feel magical. She was wondering when Mickey would actually get here, and then there was a knock at the door. Finally, Rachel said, excitement bubbling up inside of her as she raced to the front door, throwing it open, and then disappointment. Her mother stood on the threshold. I was in the neighborhood, she said, perfectly innocent smile spread across her 2 round cheeks. Her mother was always in the neighborhood. It was one of the downsides of living on the Upper West Side, while her mother, a top New York fertility specialist, worked out of Columbia Hospital just 10 blocks away. Rachel had to think quickly. She loved her mother and was even willing to entertain her completely intrusive and unannounced visits, but the door to her home office was still open. Yeah, Mickey's about to stop by, Rachel warned. Oh, I won't be but a minute, her mother said, lifting up a plastic bag from Ruby's smoked fish shop as a peace offering. I brought you some dinner. Dr. Rubenstein pushed her way inside, letting her fingers graze the the mezuzah on Rachel's doorpost before entering. Making her way straight to the refrigerator, she began to unload dinner. There was a large vat of chopped liver, 2 loaves of pumpernickel bread, 3 different types of roulage. Is that how you guys say that? Yes, she's a secret Santa collector, but she's Jewish. Isn't that funny, Jen? Dr. Rubenstein believed in feeding people that you love, and the love she had for her daughter was likely to end in heart disease. It does sound right, I think, yeah. Well, how are you feeling? Her mother inquired. I'm fine, Rachel said, using the opportunity to close her office door. Rugula. Okay, great, rugula. Dr. Rubenstein looked up from the refrigerator. Her eyes rolled from Rachel's hair, matted and clumped, down to her wrinkled pink pajamas, and she frowned. You look pale. I am pale, Rachel reminded her. Rachel, her mother said pointedly, you need to take your myalic oh God, this is going to be hard. Her mom's a doctor. She's got big words, you guys. You need to take your myalic empholimitis seriously. I don't know what she has, but it sounds serious, you guys. Rachel rolled her eyes. Outside, the gentle snow was gathering into a full-blown storm. If anyone wants to look this up so that we can know what this disease is, it's MYALGIC space ENCPHALOMYELITIS. And let me tell you, if it's hard to say in regular accent, it's extremely difficult to say in a New York Jewish accent. So just bear with me. Dr. Rubenstein was probably one of the few people who called Rachel's disease by its medical term. Oh, I guess we're going to find out. Yeah, where is my mom? The name that research scientists, experts preferred, describing the complex multi-system disease that affected her neurological, immune, autonomic, and metabolic systems. Most everyone else in the world knew it by a simple and distasteful moniker, chronic fatigue syndrome. Oh, okay. Which was quite possibly the most trivializing name for the disease in the entire world, the equivalent of calling Alzheimer's a senior moment syndrome. It did not begin to remotely describe the crushing fatigue, migraines, brain fog, or weirdo pains that Rachel lived with daily. It certainly did not describe the 25% of patients who found themselves bedbound or homebound, existing on feeding tubes and unable to leave dark rooms for years, or the 75% of patients who could no longer work full-time. For now, however, Rachel was one of the lucky ones. She managed to graduate college with a degree in creative writing, and over the last decade, she built a career working from home. Emma, Rachel said, growing frustrated, my body, my choice, but change the topic. Dr. Rubenstein pressed her lips together and swallowed the words on her tongue. It was not an easy feat for this woman. All right, and how's work? Good, Rachel shrugged, returning to the couch. Nothing interesting to report. And the freelance work that you're doing, her mother craned her neck to peep around her apartment. Is it keeping you busy? Yeah, busy enough. Dr. Rubenstein raised one eyebrow in her daughter's direction. Rachel knew that her mother was really asking something else, like, how can you afford a 2-bedroom apartment on the Upper West Side by doing freelance editorial work? But Dr. Rubenstein had learned an important Halakh lesson from her husband, Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt, early on in their marriage. You don't ask questions you don't really want the answer to. For all Rachel knew, her mother believed her to be a webcam girl, or a high-class prostitute, or the mistress of some dashing, handsome Arabian prince, all of which, Rachel was certain, would be preferable to what she actually did for a living. Emma, Rachel said, steering the conversation away from her career, what is it you're really here for? Why you always think that I have an ulterior motive, Rachel? Because I know you are right. Dr. Rubenstein threw up her hands in the air. You caught me. I do have an ulterior motive. Baruch Hashem. Now, look, it's nothing bad. I promise, her mother said, taking a seat on the couch. I simply wanted to see if you were available for Shabbat dinner this Friday. There it was, the real reason for her mother's visit. Shabbat at Rabbi Goldblatt's house was not just a weekly religious occurrence, it was a chance for Dr. Rubenstein to kidnap her daughter for 25 hours straight and force her to meet a single Jewish man. Over the years, there had been all sorts of horrible setups. There was the luxury auto dealer who used his sleeve as a napkin during dinner. There was the rabbinical student who spent an entire Saturday afternoon debating aloud with only her father over what to do when an unkosher meatball falls into a pot of kosher meatballs. And then there was her favorite blind date setup of them all, Davi, the Israeli mountain climber who had traveled the world in his perfectly healthy and functioning body before telling Rachel that he didn't think that chronic fatigue syndrome was a real disease. And now there's a Yiddish word that I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Has Vahalia? It's C-H-A-S, which I assume is Has, and then V apostrophe C-H-A-L-I-L-A-H. We're going to learn a lot in this book. Rachel had no intention of spending another Friday night and Saturday afternoon entertaining her mother's idea of a dreamboat, especially not when that dreamboat had the word Titanic embroidered across the bottom of their knitted kippah. No, Rachel said. Rachel, her mother pleaded, just hear me out. I'm too busy, Emma. But you haven't been home in ages. Oh, it means God forbid? Okay, great. You live on Long Island, Rachel shot back. I see you and Daddy all the time. Her mother could not argue with this factoid. Jacob Greenberg will be coming, her mother finally said, and Rachel nearly choked on her tongue. What? You remember Jacob Greenberg? The question sounded innocent on the surface. Jacob Greenberg. How could Rachel forget that name? The duo had spent one summer together at Camp Ahava in the Berkshires before 7th grade. Jacob Greenberg, Rachel spit back. The psychopath who spent an entire summer pulling my hair and pushing me into the lake? Oh, I recall you two getting along quite well at one point. He set me up in front of everyone, Mom. He turned my first kiss into a giant Camp Ahava prank. Well, he was 12. Dr. Rubenstein was on her feet now. 12, Rachel. You can't hold a grown man accountable for something he did as a child. For heaven's sake, the boy hadn't even had his bat mitzvah yet. Rachel could feel the red rising in her cheek. A wellspring of complicated emotions rose up inside her. Hate and love, confusion and excitement. Just hearing his name again after all these years brought Rachel smack dab back to her adolescence. And sitting there beside all those terrible memories of him humiliating her were the good ones. Rachel couldn't help herself. She drifted back to that summer, the way that it felt to hold his hand in secret, the realization that there was more to their relationship than the dumb pranks and dead bugs left in Siddurs? S-I-D-D-U-R-S? Siddurs? Jacob had gotten Rachel to open up. She trusted him. She showed him a side of herself reserved for a select few. Aside from Mickey, she had never been so honest with anyone in her entire life. Dr. Rubenstein dismissed her daughter's concerns with a small wave of her hand. It was 18 years ago. Don't you think you're being a tad ridiculous? Oh, they're prayer books. Okay, great. Did I pronounce it right, though? I think, maybe? But putting dead bugs in them seems cruel. Also seems like something a 12-year-old boy would do. Me? Rachel scoffed. You're the one who's hosting my summer camp arch nemesis for Shabbat. Well, he's in town from Paris, a big event he's throwing. What would you have me do? Not invite him over? All right, while you're at it, why don't you don't forget to invite Dana Shoshanik. She made me cry every day in 3rd grade. In fact, let me get you a list of all the people who made fun of me for being Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt growing up, and I want to make sure you don't miss anyone. Her mother didn't even blink. I'm sorry it was hard for you, but being our daughter. And just like that, her mother had twisted all those feelings right back around on her. Rachel bit back her words, looking up to the ceiling. She loved her parents more than anything in the world. They'd been through a lot with her at every stage of her life, doting and wonderful. Still, the Rubenstein Goldblatt name came with pressures. They were pressures that even as an adult still managed to follow her around. A knock at the door threw her attention away. "Oh, let me get that for you," Dr. Rubenstein said sweetly, rising from the couch. "Ho, ho, 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 ho," Mickey said, standing in the doorway, his smile fading into a panic. He was holding a medium-sized red gift bag in the air. He glanced at Rachel, who signaled the immediate danger by running one finger across her throat. Quickly, Mickey hid the bag behind his back. "Hey, Dr. Rubenstein," he said, his eyes wide. I didn't expect to see you here." "Oh, not to worry, Mickey," Dr. Rubenstein said, adjusting her scarf. "I was just getting ready to leave." She turned back to her daughter one last time. "Just think about coming to dinner, okay? Daddy and I won't be around forever, and there may come a time in your life when you miss spending Shabbat at your parents' house." Mickey waited for the door to shut firmly behind him and the elevator at the end of the hall to ding before he turned to his best friend. "Whoa," he said. "That woman is a pro when it comes to Jewish guilt." "Ugh, tell me about it," Rachel said, collapsing onto the couch. "So what did our fine Rebetzin, R-E-B-B-E-T-Z-I-N, Rebetzin, want this evening?" Mickey asked, taking his boots and jacket off at the front door. "Honestly, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." To everyone that knew them, it seemed that Mickey and Rachel had been beshert, soulmates, since time immemorable, having met at Camp Ahava when they were just 8 years old. Rebetzin. Rebetzin. Got it. Since Rachel couldn't be sure what drew the pair together, she assumed it had something to do with how other people at camp treated them. Mikhail, the adopted son of a powerhouse lesbian couple from Manhattan, was black, and Rachel, as everyone who met her cared to remind her, was the daughter of Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt. The Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt. Whether they liked it or not, when Mickey and Rachel walked into a room, people noticed them. People watched them. This shared experience formed the basis of their camaraderie and later extended far beyond Jewish summer camp. "Yet she wanted to set me up with Jacob Greenberg," Rachel said. Mickey finished pulling off his boots. "Jacob Greenberg from Camp Ahava? The one and only." "Wow," Mickey said, coming over to sit beside Rachel. "That's a name I haven't heard in forever. Didn't he give you mono?" Rachel squeezed her eyes shut. She did not want to think about that first kiss with Jacob Greenberg. "Can we seriously just not talk about this right now? I have waited 7 long years for this moment, Mickey, and just like some of the other most important moments in my life, Jacob Greenberg is ruining it for me." "You're right," Mickey said, laying the red bag on the coffee table between them. "And I have just the thing to take your mind off he who shall not be named." This was it. This was the moment they had waited for. With eager fingers, Rachel reached into the bag and pulled out the tiny figurine, gently removed the plastic bubble wrapping that protected it. It was even better than she could have imagined. Santa smiled back at her from atop a surfboard. His blue and white Hawaiian shirt sat partly unbuttoned, while in his right hand he nursed a fruity drink decorated with a tiny green umbrella. It was that umbrella in mint condition that made the Margaritaville Santa so valuable. "It's perfect," Rachel whispered. Mickey shook his head. "You are a sick, sick woman. Let's put him with the rest of them." The two rushed, giggling and screaming, back to her office, and Mickey threw open the door. He was the only person in the world who had ever seen it, and gasped at the sight that laid out before him, for it was mid-December, nearly Christmas, and Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt had clearly lost her mind. "Girl," Mickey said, placing his hand on his heart, "did you straight up rob a Christmas store?" "I might have gone a little overboard this year." "You think?" Garlands draped across the ceiling and desk hutch. A silver tinsel tree flickered with lights, nearly overtaking a desktop computer. But perhaps the most impressive of all was the tiny red and green choo-choo train set up to circle the room every hour on the dot. This place was filled to the brim with Christmas cheer. One could barely make out the rows of shelves just behind the decorations, which held an impressive array of Christmas-inspired romance novels. She's a girl after my own heart, clearly. Or the posters above them, now 4 in total, advertising made-for-TV Christmas movies. Rachel placed her coveted Margaritaville Santa in front of the work of fiction that it had inspired. On the movie poster above her, a couple kissed as the sun set. On a dreamy beach behind them, Santa, clad in a blue and white Hawaiian shirt and Ray-Ban sunglasses, smiled from a lifeguard chair. Christmas in the Caribbean? Mickey read the words aloud. Best-selling author, Margaret Cross. Margaret Cross. Rachel had found the pen name rather clever when the idea was first suggested by her agent, but now, after nearly a decade, she found that moniker, honestly, stiffening. Margot Cross was like a bad Shabbat guest who had come invited and overstayed their welcome. Are you judging me? Rachel asked. No, I'm not judging you, Mickey said, exasperated. Because you sound very judgy. All right, fine, Mickey admitted. I'm judging you a little. But seriously, Rachel, you're the best-selling author of over 20 Christmas romance novels. You have 4 Christmas movies on television, and nobody in the world even knows about it. Not your readers, not your fans, not your parents. I mean, I'm all for keeping folks in the dark about one's personal life, but don't you think it's time to come out of the Christmas closet, or in your case, the Christmas office? Silence permeated the room. Rachel wanted to tell people the truth about what she did for a living, but coming out wasn't that easy. She couldn't just stand up on the bima like Mickey had done at his bar mitzvah all those years ago prior and tell everyone the truth. 5th grade, Rachel finally said aloud. What about 5th grade? My mother caught me putting up a construction paper Christmas tree in my room. Do you know what she did, Mickey? Do you know how my sweet, loving Ema responded to the sight of a green construction paper tree taped to the top of the wall? She tore the whole thing down. She ripped it to shreds. She pointed her finger in my face and she said, we do not celebrate Christmas in this house. Just like that. No debate, no questions. What do you think my mother will do when she finds out I am really Margot Cross, best-selling author of over 20 Christmas romances? Mickey considered her story. That was 20 years ago, Rachel. You were just a little kid. Even my mother would stomp into my public school every once in a while and demand to know why we were singing Oh Holy Night. Now they couldn't care less what I'm singing. Things change. Things change for you, Rachel reminded him. My father is still Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt. Mickey grimaced. Even he couldn't find a bright side to that argument. Rachel Goldblatt wasn't some no-name, low-level... Rabbi Goldblatt wasn't some no-name, low-level rabbi. He was a macher, a bigwig in her community. He served at the synagogue of 1,200 families on Long Island. He had written 6 books on Jewish law and spoke frequently on the synagogue lecture circuit. He was known for his bright, Teshuvot? T-E-S-H-U-V-O-T, Teshuvot? Maybe? Jewish legal responsa to questions, and set Jewish legal precedent for millions of Jews worldwide. Even beyond these things, her name came with a legacy. Her great-great-grandfather, the Honorable Rabbi Pinchas Goldblatt, had been a noted scholar back in Poland. Her great-uncle, famed philosopher Elliot Rubinstein, had helped establish a Jewish seminary in New York. Her great-great-grandmother, Eliza Goldblatt, worked alongside Mordecai Kaplan to create the first JCC, Jewish Community Centers. Even her older brother had followed in the family tradition and became a rabbi. Teshuvah. Okay. Becoming a rabbi himself, taking a major pulpit out in Los Angeles after he was ordained. Meanwhile, Rachel, sick and disabled, unmarried and childless, had leaned in fully to her betrayal. She had taken her secret, shameful love of Christmas and turned it into a successful career. I don't know, Mickey said, throwing his arms in the air. You're nearly 30 years old. You're a full-fledged and independent adult. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna hide who you are forever because it might blow back on your father or destroy some ridiculous family legacy that you have? I have considered that. You deserve better than that, Rachel. Rachel nodded. The problem was, so did her parents. Congregants expected their rabbi to be beyond reproach, a person whose dedication to Jewish law and living moved them beyond human frailties. It was pressure, unfortunately, that often extended out to the families, and rabbis, like their partners and their children, learned very quickly not to share vulnerabilities. Rachel could still remember the way her mother warned her before every Shabbat and holiday service to be on her best behavior. Don't fight with your brother. Don't fidget in the pews. Remember that people are watching you. Eventually, Rachel internalized that message, and she became constantly aware of what she said and how she represented herself to others. She stopped whispering secrets to friends. She stopped having fun. She never once in her entire life forgot the lessons handed down to her from her mother. People were watching. Your choices, your actions could affect the entire family. And now Rachel spent far too much time envisioning the worst that could happen. Her father would lose his contract at his beloved synagogue and no longer be allowed to arbitrate Jewish law. Her mother, who lived for hosting guests on Shabbat, would suddenly find herself shunned by their tight-knit Jewish community. Perhaps her parents would even go so far as to consider her dead, tear their clothing off in fits of grief before sitting Shiva for her. It had happened before, in the past, to other rebellious Jewish children. The worst part of all, Rachel was certain she would be seeing the look of disappointment on her parents' face. She loved them so much. She wanted to be the perfect daughter, a nice Jewish girl. Some of her family fell about it and they would be proud, but suddenly the room sprang to life. Thousands of twinkling lights exploded all around them, and an animatronic Santa sashayed back and forth. The train chugged all around its track, dipping in and out of the tiny Christmas village display on floating shelves above her head, happily playing a mechanical tune, and Mickey jumped at the sound, nearly knocking over the tiny Christmas tree loaded with cat ornaments in the process. Oh my Jesus, he clutched his heart. Sorry, she said, pulling out a chair from her desk. I have it set to go off every hour automatically. Standing upon it, she searched for the small power button located behind a row of Christmas garland, shutting down her epic display. The music moaned to a standstill, and the lights in her office returned to normal, and the train, the one she had so lovingly and painstakingly set up around her office, came to a stop right next to a writing award for Margaret Cross. Every hour? How the hell do you sleep? Oh, I can't hear it in my bedroom. Rachel stepped down from the chair. She knew this was odd, the way she hoarded Christmas trinkets inside her secret office, but she found it comforting. She loved everything about Christmas. The music, the throw pillows, the decor. It brought her to this place of unapologetic joy where nothing bad ever happened and everyone found their happy ending. I just love it so much. I can't help myself, Mickey. I tried to quit a dozen times, to write something else, to find some other story filled with the same level of magic, and I always wind up going right back to Christmas. It's Christmas, Rachel, not a drug addiction. Well, it feels like a drug addiction. You know what your problem is? Mickey snapped his fingers. You've never experienced a real Christmas. Rachel sighed dramatically. I know. While both of Mickey's mothers identified as Jewish, Cheryl, who Mickey referred to as Mom, had been raised as Southern Baptist. Excuse me. But after Cheryl met Elena, Mickey's Ema, during a drunken midnight run for the Munchies in the East Village, the duo, who were both law students at the time, they quickly realized they were heading toward a permanent partnership, and children came along later, along with the decision by both women to be a home centered around Jewish values. So, Mickey was Jewish. He lived with both feet firmly in the Jewish community, as Rachel. With both feet as firmly in the Jewish community as Rachel. But unlike Rachel, whose family tree had not been shaken up since the Shettles of Bialystok, Mickey had non-Jewish family too. He had non-Jewish grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles. And growing up together when the winter holiday break came, Mickey often went to see them. It used to make Rachel all kinds of jelly. No, I'm serious, Rachel. Mickey continued, rolling his eyes a little in her direction. Your entire frame of reference from the holiday comes from Hallmark movies and aisle 16 at Target. It's not real. Come to my Aunt Vivian's house for the holidays. Watch Uncle Joe get drunk and say offensive thing to my mother's. Trust me, you're not going to think Christmas is so magical then. Rachel fell into silence. Maybe Mickey was right. Maybe her entire life wrapped up in red and green Christmas ribbon was just another fiction. She was used to them. After all, she had been doling them out her entire life. But her best friend since forever was forgetting one thing. I don't want it to be real, Rachel said quietly, and Mickey blinked. Rachel, it's okay. She forced a smile, downplaying her sadness. She didn't talk about it much, but chronic illness, like her writing Christmas romances, were two events that had developed together. No, Mickey took her hand. I get it, okay? I didn't mean to stomp all over your Christmas safe space. You're amazing, all right? This room's amazing. I totally get why you love Christmas. You do? Yeah, Mickey smiled. I mean, what do us super Jewy types really get anyway? Apples and honey on Rosh Hashanah, 25 hours of fasting on Yom Kippur, sleeping outside a cold-ass roofless hut in the middle of October. Rachel laughed. You did always hate Sukkot. With a passion. Don't even get me started on Hanukkah. Ugh, Rachel groaned. Hanukkah. Frozen latkes, crappy dreidel games. Plus you always burn your fingers on the menorah. That holiday is a giant fire hazard, Mickey said, punctuating his next set of words with full snark. Honestly, it's amazing half of New York doesn't burn down every Kislev? 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 Rachel warmed up like a cup of hot cocoa on a cold winter day. It was just like Mickey to say the right thing and pull her out of any sadness. He was one of a kind, truly, and she would never take his love or devotion for granted. So yeah, Mickey said, pushing one brown curl out of her eyes. When it comes to holidays that have the most festive spirit, I think every Jewish person on the planet would agree with you. Christmas wins. Rachel threw her arms around him. I love you. I love you too, Mickey said before adding, Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt. Well, later that evening, after Mickey had departed, Rachel couldn't sleep. Normally, she would assume her insomnia was the byproduct of her chronic fatigue syndrome, what doctors often referred to as disrupted sleep-wake cycles. But this evening, Rachel knew that her tossing was the result of something far more insidious. Jacob Greenblatt was coming back to New York. Rachel groaned beneath her covers. She couldn't get him out of her head. Lying in bed, memories of that terrible summer came flooding back to her, pushing her into the lake, leaving a dead bug in her sitter, scratching on the windows above her bunk at midnight, pretending to be a serial killer. All of which she probably could have forgiven. But he had taken the joke too far. Rachel needed to relax. Rising from her bed, she knew just the thing that would help. She returned to the living room and she drew the curtains. The rest was ritual. The Christmas-themed pattern that she had played out a million times since moving to her two-bedroom apartment on the Upper West Side. She headed to her office. She powered on her Christmas monstrosity. The room sprang to life. The thousands of twinkling lights turned on around her, and the hum of the electric jingle and the choo-choo-choo-choo of her Christmas train finishing its happy path. And Rachel leaned against the doorway, taking it all in. Her magical Christmas world, her safe and special place, her most dark and shameful secret. Usually it helped. Rachel closed the door and returned to her bedroom. Heading to her closet, she stood on her tiptoes, pulling down a large flowered box. Normally, as a kid, she'd been obsessive about collaging, but this box, which had traveled with her through most of college and into adulthood, contained the extras that hadn't made it into picture frames. It contained years' worth of photographs from Camp Ahava, letters sent and long forgotten, plus a hodgepodge of random friendship bracelets and other summer camp trinkets. She took a deep breath and opened it, and surprisingly, the act didn't injure her. Sorting through the photographs, she found herself smiling. The ones of her and Mickey in third grade, tiny and adorable. She stopped on a picture of her with him, both of them wearing red bandanas and smiling toothlessly at the camera. There were plenty from the girls' side of camp, too. Rachel burst out laughing at a random shot, blurry and unfocused, of bunk 7G. It was absolute filth. Wet towels hung from every railing, hair dryers and curling irons with their cords unwrapped lay open on exposed beds. She landed on a photo of Leah Abraham drinking out of her favorite pink water bottle. Ahava means that she means love. She went to camp. Oh, that's cute. Camp Love. That's so sweet. One of Rachel's father had... Wait, what? The one Rachel's father had specifically bought Rachel because it had her name painted in silver gemstones on the front. Rachel loved that damn water bottle. She kept flipping through each image, bringing it back with dozens of memories. There really was nothing quite like Jewish summer camp. She saw the same familiar faces year after year, summer after summer, at least until Jacob Greenberg arrived. Jacob Greenberg burst into Camp Ahava on the scene as a total anomaly. He was Jewish, of course, but he didn't come from her Jewish world. He made fart noises during morning miniyah. He purposefully mixed meat and dairy dishes during meals. He was a notorious prankster, a total bad boy, never once giving a damn what anyone thought of him. No wonder Rachel fell so hard for him. And she wasn't the only one. The Lashon Hara, or gossip, that summer about Jacob was unrivaled. His mother, Minya, his mother was a French model. His father, some uber-rich businessman. He lived in a 17-bedroom penthouse in New York where he could order candy via a delivery system and even had a television in his bedroom, most of which Rachel now realized as an adult was probably not true. None of that mattered to the 7th graders of Camp Ahava, though. Jacob Greenberg was all question marks and mystery. Everyone fell under his spell. Rachel came to a photo of Boys Bunk 7B. 26 gangly males stood in a half-moon circle outside their cabin. There was Mickey, Avi, Ben, Aaron, but in the middle of those familiar faces, poised like a king, with his arms crossed, was Jacob Greenberg, grinning. Ugh! She was positive he was still grinning, laughing from her oh so fabulous Paris, the city he'd moved to with his mother after their one summer together at Camp Ahava. Her eyes wandered over the stacks of letters held together by a rubber band. She didn't have the heart to open them. But she remembered how relieved she felt to read his final letter, the way that she and Mickey had celebrated, jumping up and down on her bed, squealing in sheer delight. Jacob Greenberg was leaving New York and the United States forever. He would never be returning to Camp Ahava. And yet, despite the shrieks of gratitude emanating from her tiny pink bedroom on the island, when Rachel found herself alone at night, when she thought about all that had transpired between them that summer, there was a part of her that was sad to hear he was leaving. Jacob had been her first love after all. Rachel threw down the photo. It was such a sentimentally stupid thought. And for what? Jacob probably didn't even remember her, let alone all the myriad of ways that he had broken her heart. But Rachel would always remember it, and she would always recall the way she looked up from her first kiss to see the boys' bunk of 7B hiding behind the bushes with a flashlight and camera, because Jacob Greenberg had turned her first kiss into a giant Camp Ahava prank. He never loved her. He had never even cared about her. Rachel closed up the box, returning it to the closet, and crawled back into bed. She decided her mother was wrong. She was not being ridiculous. Jacob Greenberg had stolen something precious from her, something important that she could never get back, and she had no intention of ever seeing that schmuck again. Entering Charles de Gaulle Airport, Jacob Greenberg was too busy rifling through the front pocket of his carry-on to notice the wide-eyed and nervous whispers of 3 young attendants standing at the counter. He didn't mean for his harried pace and downturned lips to come off as discourteous, but as CEO of Greenberg Entertainment and the man who had built a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up, he had far more pressing matters on his mind. Bonjour, he said, pulling out his French passport. Good morning, the attendant chirped, elbowing her friend to get the computer terminal first. How can I help you? Jacob forced a smile. She had detected his American accent and immediately switched from French to English. He tried not to be insulted by this. After all, it was far too common of an occurrence in his life to still be offensive. Still, it drove him nuts. He had been living in Paris now for almost 2 decades, and at every turn he was reminded he was an outsider. I'm heading to New York, he said. New York, she chirped, sifting through her papers. Fabulous! How have you been? Jacob shifted uneasily in his shiny black loafers. It was odd how a simple question asked by a stranger could make him want to turn on his heels and run. Yeah, I was born there, he said carefully, cautiously. My mother was French. You're American, she said, looking up from his French passport. I have dual citizenship, he said, hoping his clipped tone would put an end to her line of questioning. And it worked. 45 minutes later, he was comfortably settled in the waiting area of gate C-19, though comfortable was perhaps too strong a word. Since arriving at the airport, he had been met with a growing sense of anxiety in his belly. He couldn't quite pinpoint where his nervousness stemmed from. Maybe it was the conversation at the ticket counter that reminded him of his broken home, or maybe it was something far more immediate. He had never thrown an event like the Matzah ball. Pulling out his laptop and powering it on, he stared at his massive to-do list. The week of major events was always the most trying. There were guests to please, suppliers to confirm, lighting and sound to check and accomplish, sound checks to accomplish. It would be all hands on deck for every person on staff, every local volunteer seeking a ticket, etc. But Jacob was used to the craziness of an event production schedule. As the mastermind between such events as Lunachelle and Sunburn, he had made a fortune selling one-of-a-kind parties to wealthy millennials seeking out Instagram-worthy experiences. And now he was heading to New York to launch the first ever Matzah Ball Max, a high-end and formal event on the 8th night of Hanukkah, which promised ticket holders one thing: the Hanukkah event of the century. Jacob! Shmuel was waving at him from the other end of the terminal. There you are! Shmuel Applebaum was a squat man who stood on loafers with risers, 5 feet 4 inches tall. But what he lacked in height, he made up for in pure, unadulterated energy. Storming down the busy terminal, tit-sit, waving while he walked, is that, wait, I don't know what that means. T-Z-I-T, sit-sit, waving while he walked. He was holding 3 different plastic bags in addition to the blue backpack slung over his shoulder. You will never believe it, Shmuel said, sitting down next to okay, next to Jacob. They're telling me I brought too much stuff. Jacob carefully regarded his friend and colleague. It was almost 8 hours of a flight to New York, but Shmuel Applebaum came prepared to survive the apocalypse. Bending over in his seat, his, yeshiva boker belly spread out in rolls around the handrails, and he began sifting through the plastic bags. In them were 4 sacks of baked goods, 6 bottles of water, and a small roast chicken struggled to remain in their allotted section of his seat. You know, Jacob said, raising an eyebrow in Shmuel's direction, they will feed us on the flight, kosher food and everything. Shmuel looked up from the mess. You can never be too prepared, Jacob. The Talmud says a person should be prepared to sell the beams of his house in order to put shoes on his feet. These are my shoes, Jacob. A person needs shoes. Right. Let me use your laptop bag, Shmuel said. What? Jacob snapped back. No. Come on, he said, reaching for it. I know you. You'll be working the whole flight anyway. Plus, I know I don't want to have to check another bag. You know how these airlines are. They're total crooks. They'll lose your bag, and then they'll charge you extra for losing it. There was no point in arguing with the man. Shmuel was like a gerbil on a wheel when he wanted something, incapable of stepping back or taking no for an answer. That same singular drive, coupled with a severe lack of social skills, were what made Shmuel so damn good at his job. Shmuel could pull money from a rock. The man was amazing at fundraising, gifted at getting people to say yes, and savvy at marketing. Over the years, the duo had become more than just colleagues. They'd become friends. Jacob handed over his expensive Briggs & Riley laptop bag and watched Shmuel turn it into a makeshift picnic basket for all his kosher baked goods. I spent $400 on that bag, Jacob said, cringing. It's a very nice bag, Shmuel said, oblivious. Maybe not $400 nice, but very nice. Shmuel finished his impossible task, and with the hand precision of a 2-year-old, he shoved the last of his baked goods into Jacob's bag before tugging on the zipper. The Briggs & Riley now stretched to maximum capacity, and he sighed happily and sunk back into his seat. So, new? He said, looking at Jacob. What's up with you? Nothing. Shmuel repeated, elbowing him a little. You're nervous. I'm not nervous. You're not nervous. Shmuel had pegged him. Jacob was, in fact, nervous. There were just so many unknowns for this young CEO. He was returning to New York City and the Jewish community there after a lifetime away, and he was investing huge sums of money into throwing the Matzah Ball Max, an event unlike any other he had done before. And there was just this one other thing weighing on him. There was a chance, just a small chance, that he would bump into Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt. Her name alone caused a pendulum of emotions to swing inside him. One moment he was thrilled, the next moment he was terrified. He felt stupid for still thinking about her, confused over what had happened so many years ago, irritated that she could have done that to him. But mainly, when he thought back to the summer of blooming adolescent love at Camp Ahava, he remembered her as the skinny girl with braces who was the shining light of his life in a year that was otherwise altogether completely dark. Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt had saved him, and then she had broken his heart. Don't be nervous, Smol said, pulling out a bag of peanuts from his pocket. I have everything handled on my end, all right? Kosher food, we got it. 10-foot menorah arriving on Sunday. All the Jewish aspects of the party are handled, okay? All you need to do is get the hesher. Hesher? Jacob had not grown up observant as Shmuel had. The stamp of approval, you know? Shmuel said, turning over a bag of peanuts to reveal a small OU sign printed on the back. You need to get the blessing from Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt. Make sure our big Jewish music festival on the last night of Hanukkah is hechsher, is kosher. The dietary laws of kashrut or kosher specified which foods could be eaten, which foods were prohibited. But while the laws of kashrut were usually limited to food, the concept of things being kosher or not had seeped into every aspect of Jewish culture. Natasha, I'm not sure what time it is actually. Despite the fact that there was no real halak reason for Rabbi to be in attendance or light the final Hanukkah candles, Jacob felt that having the presence of Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt at their party would give the matzah ball a feeling of authenticity. He was a macher. After all, one of the most respected Jewish thinkers of their generation. It's 9:22. Okay, so almost an hour, Natasha. You're going to his house for Shabbat, right? Shmuel asked. Yeah, I am, Jacob said, feeling his stomach sink. I still don't know how you bamboozled that invitation. Jacob shifted in his seat. Yeah, honestly, me either. Jacob had never intended to be invited for Shabbat to the home of the world-famous Rabbi Aaron Goldblatt. In truth, when he first rung their house from his office in Paris, he hadn't even expected anyone to remember him. His instinct was to simply keep things professional, to extend the invitation to Rabbi Goldblatt and his wife, Dr. Rubenstein, to light the final candles of the menorah at his Matzah ball max. Much to his surprise, Dr. Rubenstein had picked up the phone, and with great warmth she exclaimed how delighted she was to hear from him. She spent the next 20 minutes chattering off his ear, plowing him with questions before insisting that he come stay with them for Shabbat. What were his options, really? His 91-year-old Bubby would not be returning from Thailand until Monday, and he didn't feel like spending Shabbat with Shmuel and his 52 cousins down in Brooklyn, despite the difficulties involved, namely the very real possibility of running into his daughter. This had to be done. Actually, Jacob rubbed at the back of his neck. I dated his daughter once. Shmuel stopped eating his peanuts. You dated the rabbi's daughter? Well, all right. Dating is probably too strong of a word, Jacob backtracked. It was summer camp. Camp Ahava, actually, in the Berkshires. We were both 12. Shmuel took a minute. He squinted, confused. You went to Jewish summer camp? For one summer, Jacob shifted again, before I moved to France with my mother. Jacob could see Shmuel trying to work out the whole Meshuggahs thing with Jacob telling him that he had... Jacob could see Shmuel trying to work out this whole Meshuggahs thing Jacob was telling him beneath his black skull cap, and he finally gave up on the impossible endeavor. Well, Shmuel said, popping another peanut into his mouth, don't mess it up. An announcement came over the loudspeaker. Flight 1668 to New York was ready to depart. Gathering up his stuff, Jacob shoved the memory of Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt down and away. She had been a blip on his radar in the screen of his life. Nothing more. Dun, 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 dun. Well, that was an adorable start to a book, right? I love it. It's adorable. Adorable. I'm just adding it to my currently reading collection in here. It's very cute. I love the whole conceit of Rachel being obsessed with Christmas, even though she's the rabbi's daughter. It's a very cute little closet thing. Very sweet. So yeah, that's our current book, and it's adorable. All right. If you are joining us for our holiday party tonight, that will be on Zoom. The link has been posted. Feel free to join us. Bring some hot cocoa and candy cane or a latke, whatever you feel like. Some cider. I don't know. Something delicious, and we'll all chill. I'll still answer questions like we always do because we have a lot of new people, but we'll be able to see each other and talk. And I think that is at 4:30. It's in the post, but I'm pretty sure it's 4:30. Oh, no, Naisa, that's so sad. Well, come join us for the short time that you can, and then, peace out. I will still be at work, so no camera, but that's fair. That's totally fair, Jen. Yeah, anyone who can't be on camera, no worries. The girls after Shabbat dinner. Is it that late for, I guess it's that late for where you are. Oh, yeah, and it's Friday. That stinks. So anyway, I'm going to go pack the rest of the orders. There's not that many more to get out, which is great. We'll miss for Shabbat but another time. Yes, definitely, Danny. And also try to have it recorded. I think Shira's going to record it so we can upload it for anyone who misses it. And that's the whole kit and caboodle, I think. I don't know. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.